Hello, good morning to you on a very wet and drizzly Monday morning. I'm going to be making some little plaited wire bracelets with you today. I'm using a 0.6mm wire, which is I think a 22 or 23 American wire gauge. They're really straightforward to do. There's not much weaving at all involved. I'm literally wrapping a loop and plaiting the wire. I've got some lovely crystals for you. We've got 4 colours and we've done a little bundle offer as well, so you can make your bracelets in each individual colour. If you want to mix them, then you can buy the little bundle, which makes 3 bracelets and has 2 colours in them. So I hope you're all doing very well this morning. I'll take you over to the website now and we will start getting making. So we are, of course, on totallybeads.co.uk. And this is where you will find your kits if you want to make these with me. We've called them the Lily Platted bracelet. So head into video tutorials, whichever way you like to go. My camera is much higher up today. I'm hoping you'll be able to see okay and all will be working as it should be. I've put it a little bit higher just because I'm going to be using a long length of wire, but we'll see. We'll see if I need to adjust it as we go. So if you head here into the Lily Platted bracelet, you will see they are a bargain price of £2.99. We've got the autumn green, the blue, a violet and a pink as well. If you would like to make both of them, then you can use the pink and the green on the gold. That makes 3 bracelets, so you could have 1 each and then a mix. And we've got the violet and blue on the silver, and they've been reduced. They're just £6.75. So I'll show you how to make these. I will demonstrate with the mix of the colours, so I'll mix the violet and the blue I think today. So I'll show you what is in the kit. We've got everything you need in your little kits, and this is going to make 1 bracelet for just £2.99. So I've got the crystal round beads, the copper wire which is colour coded, some jump rings and a lobster clasp. I've realised I haven't got my jump rings or my lobster clasp out ready. So there you go. So we've got in our colour kits, we've got the 4mm crystal round beads. These are in autumn green and they're on the copper plated wire, which as I say is 0.6 or a 22 gauge wire. Really nice and easy to make and very, very pretty. You can adjust the sizes of these accordingly as well. So to make an 8-inch bracelet, I'm using about 20 of those round beads, those crystals. If you want to make a 7-inch, you can just add 17 on, and for the if you want to make one which is 6.5 inches, I'm using 15. That's going to be on each strand of wire, and I'm going to be using 3 wires, so you can just change how many you want to add on to adjust the sizes. So this one here is really, really gorgeous. This one is your baby blue AB, and that is on the silver. Getting all the same things in your kit today: crystal round beads, your copper wire, your jump rings and your lobster clasp. We also have this lovely opal violet one. I love the colour of these. They are so, so pretty. They're looking a little bit more pink on this picture. They are a very gorgeous purpley colour. So that one is your purple, or violet rather. And then this one is your pink. Again, very pretty crystals. They've got a beautiful facet to them, so they're going to catch the light lovely, just make them sparkly and twinkly. I'll show you how they look on the mat as well. So I'm using 4mm crystal round beads, and they are the colour options that I've put together for you. If you can't decide and you want to make 3, then get the little bundle. So that's just £6.75. Of course, you can change your currency wherever you want to go in the world. Your parcel, you can just change your currency there. This is the mix, so you could make a mix with the green and the pink, or you could just make those individually if you like. So you're going to get your pink and your autumn green, and they're on the gold wire. And then we have the little bundle here, which makes up 3 in the violet and the blue. So I'll do a little mix. I'll use both colours of those gorgeous crystal rounds today, so you can see how they look. So you make 2 single colour and 1 mixed. You'll have enough crystals to do that. So they're your lily plaited wire bracelets. Hopefully you like them, and you'll make along with me today. And whether it's your first time making with wire or you're accustomed to making with wire, these are a really straightforward make, nice little project. I'm going to say a quick hello to everybody in the comments, and hopefully all screens will be working. Good morning to Rachel. She's in a wet and windy Barrow. It's just what's happened to the summer. It's a very, very much an autumnal day today. Good morning to Elaine. Hello to Anastasia. Good morning to Carolyn. She says, good morning, Natalie and our beading family. It's breezy down here in Brixham, a bit mizzly. I hope you're well. I love our language. I love all these wonderful words. We were muggy last week. We're mizzly today. It is mizzly. It's misty, drizzly, horrible. Good morning to Tina. How are you doing? Hello to Izzy, who says waiting for the storms to arrive in the Highlands. Ooh, good luck with that. Hope it's not too bad. Good morning to Carol. Good morning to Julie. She's windy Wolverhampton. Good morning to Rachel. Jean's in 4 a.m. in Chicago. Well, I hope the weather is going to be a better, brighter day for you, Jean, in Chicago than it is for me here in the UK. Good morning to Sheila. She says the wind is picking up north. It is indeed. It feels so much cooler as well. Even when it's been raining, it's been warm, it's been muggy, but no, it's feeling breezy today. Good morning to Jan, who's in a windy but sunny Sudbury, and hello to Joanne. How are you doing? She says it's absolutely chucking it down in Coventry today. She's got no granddaughter with her today or this week, so she's generously given her a lovely cold. Oh, she's at that sharing stage, is she? Tell you what, the minute they start going to school and nursery and things like that, they just pick up all sorts. Jan says she's been making more of the Inez herringbone gemstone bracelets, and she made a pair of gemstone wire earrings too. Well done, Jan. Make sure you're sharing in the group. We would love to see your makes. So I will take you down on the mat. These are your bracelets. This is clear enough, isn't it, being all the way up here? She says she's bought herself a magnifying desk lamp over the weekend too. That is a brilliant idea. I have got one for you know, when you're doing like fiddly bits and soldering and things like that, and it just lives in a box. I very rarely have time to get my stuff out. I literally just sit at this table here or on a tray in the living room and make. So this is the beautiful violet one. It's so pretty. If I show you the strands here, they're just gorgeous, very, very twinkly, and I think they'd look beautiful together. But we'll find out, because this is what I'm going to make for you today. This is your baby blue. As I say, you can have that quite large. You can adjust the size really easily. Just keep measuring it against your ruler as you're going. I do tend to gently pull and stretch them out just to tighten the weave at the end. And of course, you're going to be adding that extra bit of distance with your wrap loop and your clasp as well. You don't have to put the jump ring on this if you don't want to. You could pop your lobster clasp into that wrap loop, and you can of course tighten it through that loop at the end rather than the jump ring if you want to. But I thought we'd just give ourselves those extra findings. You could as well, if you wanted, make a little wire clasp. I've done that with a few tutorials before. With me using the 0.6, I'd like, if I'm ever making a wire clasp, I usually use a 1mm or 18 gauge or higher. I feel it's best to have it more sturdy. This is nice and supple, this wire. This one is the very pretty pink. Looks gorgeous on the gold. But you could put that on the silver if you wanted to multi-buy both kits or both bundles, and you've got all the crystals to play with, and you've got all of the different colour wire as well. And this one is the autumn green. absolutely loving my greens at the moment, and I think this looks beautiful on the gold as well. Good morning, Mina. She says she's got this one on her list to make. Good morning to Yolanda. Hello to Phoenix. How are you doing? And oh, you're not too. Oh, Meg. Oh, poor Meg. I hope she's okay, sweetheart. I'm gonna check my emails a little bit later. So let's get making. Let's see if I can remember what I'm doing, because it's been a little while, to be honest. I'm going to cut 2 lengths of wire. I do straighten out the wire first, so I tend to run that through my nylon coated pliers. You can run it through your fingers as well. You want it fairly straight to work with. So I'm going to cut 1 length of my 0.6, which is 22 gauge wire, at 50 centimeters, which is about 20 inches. And then I'm going to cut another of my 0.6, again still about 22, 23 gauge wire. I'm just going to get rid of that. Actually, I don't think I do need to get rid of that tiny end. I'll just straighten it out, because I'm going to be turning this up at the end anyway. So you can see, just running it through to just straighten that out. I'm going to cut another length of this, about 35 centimeters, which is about 14 inches. So I'm just putting it here against my ruler just to measure that out. So about 35 centimeters or 14 inches. And I'm just going to run that through as well. Now, with the smaller length of wire, so the 35 centimeters or the 14 inches, I'm just going to measure about 5 centimeters from the end and put a little bend in it. That's about 2 inches. I'm trying to convert just to make sure that everyone can follow along without having to stop and having a search of what's this in inches. So just about 5 centimeters up from the end. So I should have about 30 centimeters left on that tail. And then what I'm going to do with the long wire, which is the 20 inch or 50 centimeters one, I'm just going to bring the ends down together, and I'm just going to roughly find the middle. So just put a little bend in that. And then I'm going to get my round nose pliers or my bail step pliers. If I'm using the bail step pliers, I want quite a small loop, so I'm just going to turn it on the second smallest. And what I'm going to do is, where I've put that bend in the wire, I'm going to place that over the top of my round nose pliers or my bail step pliers, and I'm going to do the same with the smaller one. So just position them up together. I'm a little bit fingers and thumbs today, feeling very tired this morning, and I don't know why. So I'm going to pop them into that loop. So just where that bend is, so I've got that little tail end there of the 5 centimeters. I'm just going to pinch around to make a little loop around the pliers using both of them. And then with that small 5 centimeter or 2 inch tail, I'm just going to bring that round all of the loops. And you can do this with your pliers or you can do it with your fingers. And I'm just going to wrap that round just to create that fixed loop. Keep straightening those nicely with my fingers. But I'm going to wrap that round about 4 times. Again, use your tools if you want to, but this wire is nice and supple. So just tying that round's created that little loop. And then with my cutters, I'm going to trim off that tail end. And then I'm going to pop it back onto my pliers just to keep the shape of that loop, while I come in with my chain nose pliers and just tuck down that little end from where we've cut. We want to make sure there's no sharp bits sticking out. There's nothing scratchy. It's just nicely tucked in there. Oh, wow. Rex, Trion, Sharon and Jackson say, hey, Natalie, I've been very busy. I've made 243 pairs of earrings recently. My goal is to get to 500 pairs of earrings. My goodness, I've been very busy as well. I've made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 necklaces, 2 bracelets, 1 ring and a pair of earrings in the last 2 days. I don't know. I've lost count. I did stop a little bit for a birthday party at the weekend. Take your time, don't rush it, enjoy it. Alison says she's going to give it a go. Hair and wire is not compatible. This one's really easy, Alison. So there you go. That's my little wrap loop. So I've got 2 little wires, which will then give me those 3 tail ends to work off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate out my wires, not in any particular order, just from where they naturally fall. And I'm going to separate them out like so. This might move a little bit, but it should stay in a loop as such. So now I'm going to pop my crystals on. So as I say, depending on how long you want to make it, I usually put 20 on each for an 8-inch bracelet. I might put 15 on for a 6.5-inch, and then you've got your clasp as well. 17 will probably make a 7-inch bracelet. So just, you can always add more on, and you can always take them off as well if you need to. So I'm going to use 2 of my colours on this make. I'm going to just open up my strands using that gorgeous violet and the baby blue. And in terms of what order I'm going to put them on, I mean, you can put them on any order you want. I'm going to have to move my chair out just because my wire ends are sticking at me and I want to make sure you can see it all in the camera. There we go. Actually, I could move that up a little bit. You can still see. So I'm just going to thread them on, and I'm going to put all of the same colour on each, I think. So that's 15. I might go for about a 7-inch. I might add 17 on. So I'm just going to put all of the same colour onto that one for now. And I'm just going to turn the end of this wire just upwards into a little loop just to stop them sliding off. I think I'm going to, because I'm going to cross them over, I'm going to put the baby blue ones on this outside wire. And I might do a mix in the middle, I don't know. Obviously, if you've just bought the one, then you'll just be adding all of the same colour crystals on. So they're so sparkly, I'm struggling to see where the drill hole is. I'm going to try and make sure that I've got the same amount on each. So I think that should be 17. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2, 4, 6, 7. Yeah. And again, just a little fold of that end just to stop them falling off. You can always add more on. You can always make, you know, it longer or adjust it. You can take them off. You can do whatever you want. Right, I think I might just add all of the same colour onto this one here, onto the middle. We'll see how it looks. You could alternate between them as well if you want, so you could do violet, blue, violet, blue. Ooh. And I should have 17 onto there as well. You just want them the same, so whatever you put onto one, put onto the others. And again, just folding that end down loosely, just to make sure it doesn't fall off. I'm also just going to tie my crystal ends on my strands back up, just so they don't fall off. So I'm going to miss one, and pass it back through. And then if I need any more, they're there. So I'm going to then slide my crystals down, and I'm going to bring one up. So all I'm going to do is start plaiting. So if you've plaited or braided hair before, this is going to be really, really straightforward. I'm just going to be pushing the bead up as I go, and then I'm going to bring the outside into the center. So where I'm working, it doesn't matter which way around you do this, but I'm going to work on the outer right wire, and I'm just going to bring that over. So that's now sitting in the middle like so. I'm then going to push my left bead up, and I'm going to bring that one into the middle. Now my wires are starting to catch at the bottom because of those loops. So I'm just going to bring that one up. So now you'll see the outer one always goes into the middle one. So back up with the right, and then moving that over, and that one now becomes the middle. And then bringing the left one over into the middle. And I keep kind of straightening the wires as I go. I also tend to find that it curves a little bit with the pressure of my thumb. So just sliding that one wire up to begin with, or that bead up to begin with. It does tend to start to create a little curve. We can sort these loops out if they do start to move afterwards, don't worry. So bringing the bead up, and on the outer one goes into the center. I'm not too concerned about my tension, because I tend to give it a little pull at the end, and that will just kind of even it up a little bit. But just like plaiting hair, I'm sliding the bead up onto the left outermost wire, and then bringing that into the center. And then what will happen is where the wires cross over, it will kind of hold the bead in place. So we want those to cross over quite close to the bead. We're going to bring up one bead on the right, and bring the right wire over to the center. Bead up onto the left, and I'm just supporting it with my thumb as I bring it over. Thanks, Rayati. She has beautiful crystals. I'm going to try and do this really slow, but you do tend to find you get into a rhythm with it. If you've got any questions, do message, drop me a comment, and I'll see what I can do to answer. If you've never braided or plaited hair, all we are doing is popping the crystal up on the wire that we are using. So next I'm going to be using the right one. So that crystal's going to come up, and then I'm just crossing it over. It's hard to show you with my fingers in the way, into the center, So you can see now that wire, which had the blue crystals on, which was on the right hand side, is now sitting in the middle. We're never moving the middle wire, that just naturally swaps its place. Now we bring up the left wire, or bead on the left wire, and bring the left wire into the centre. So we can now see that wire with the blue beads on, which started on the right, moved to the centre, is now on the left. So we're keeping that wire in the middle, and we're just swapping over the sides, always bringing into the centre, bead up and bringing into the centre. And again, just keep straightening those wires. It's a lovely soft wire using the 0.6 or 22 gauge. And then the next bead. And you can see how those wires are just going to lock in place around the bead. The tension's a little bit different here. I wouldn't worry too much about it. When you give it a gentle pull at the end, it will tighten up. But I kind of want to keep that spacing as best I can, just by holding down my crystal with my thumb. When the next one comes in and across, that's just going to create that little bit of space to lock it in. Again, don't worry if it does gradually curve as you're doing it with the pressure of your thumb, because it's going to be shaped into a bracelet afterwards anyway. If you've got a bracelet mandrel, use it. I haven't, so I'm just going to get up off my desk and get myself something cylindrical, like got a candle over there, that will probably do, or a glass tumbler, and we'll shape that at the end. So bringing the outer wire into the centre, bringing the left wire into the centre, and back to the right wire into the centre. Each time we do so, we're just going to be bringing one of those crystal beads up and sliding it over. I can get closer to the desk now as the bracelet's taking shape. I really like having a mix of the crystals on this as well. I think these colours look really pretty together. And there's predominantly more of the lilac, just because of the way I've strung them on. But you can place them however you want. So again, every now and again, just straightening out the wire. And those crystal beads are going to want to start sliding up as we get to the end. It's just one up each time before we cross those wires over. Anne is asking, or I think, how am I pronouncing that? Annie is asking, sorry if you've already answered this, is the wire half hard? This isn't. This is, it feels dead soft to me, this wire. It is a copper wire. I think it's just a beading wire, and it is colour coded, so it feels soft. You can, I think, I'd imagine if you've got a half hard, you could use that instead. You want something to be supple enough that you're not fighting with it. You can just bring those over and move them into position quite easily. And it will hold its shape and its structure when you've got those crystal beads on. So I'm just going to keep plaiting until I've added on all of the beads that I want. And so you can measure this against your ruler so you can gauge the length in which you are plaiting for, and how then you've got a good estimate of how long your bracelet's going to be. I am, as I bring it over, tend to lift it up a little bit. I just find it easier for me. but because I've folded those, you can see those crystals will have just completely fallen off the bottom if I hadn't just looped them round on themselves. And we could straighten that out at the end, no problem. I'm not making wrap loops or anything, I'm just bending them to stop the crystals falling off. So left into the centre, and the right wire moving into the centre, and repeating that. Rachel says she loves the blue beads, and Jan says both bundles have jumped into my basket. I think the blue would look gorgeous on the gold wire as well, Jan, so if you have got a mix, you might want to mix up your wire colours as well. Again, just bringing my beads up and over, keeping it fairly consistent. And now I'm coming to my last bead. So still stays the same. Don't worry now if that wire uncurls, because I've got no beads to keep on. There you go. So all of my beads now are positioned in place. And the wire that I have popped the last bead on, so this one here on the right was my last bead and my last wire to cross. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring that round. So you'll notice this goes over that last wire. If I bring the other wires in together, I'm just going to be able to pinch those down. And that bead, or that wire with the last bead on, is going to wrap around the other two. So I'm just going to make a little wrap loop with this one. I did 4 wraps to start here, so I'm going to do 4 wraps around here to finish. I can now cut that off nice and close and tuck that in. If you need to, where you've got those little bends, you can put a bit of pressure on where you've just wrapped, and you can straighten out those wires a little bit. Now, where I've got my bracelet at the moment, it is about 18 centimetres, and that is coming in at 7 inches at the moment. That's got my 17 beads on. So if I want to make that larger, obviously I'm going to be adding my clasp and my jump rings on at the end. You could make this into a clasp, but as I say, I prefer to use a more sturdier wire when I'm making a wire clasp. But you don't have to add your jump ring onto this end. You could just put your clasp, your lobster clasp, through that loop. What I'm going to do, just to kind of neaten it a little bit, very gently with my fingers, I'm just going to move along and gently pull. And that's just going to tighten up my weave. It will make it a very tiny bit longer, but by just giving it a gentle pull, you'll see that kind of evens it out a little bit more. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little wrap loop on this end here. And so I'm going to use the remaining 2 tail wires to make that loop. And that's going to match this one at the beginning. So I'm going to take my bail step pliers. I want to use the second smallest again. You can use your round nose pliers for this. But I'm going to keep those wires together and I'm going to bend them over my pliers kind of horizontally. There's going to be a little bit of space now between that wrapped loop here and my bend, because I've used the space on the plier. I'm going to reposition So that loop is now above, so my pliers are, jaws of the pliers are above and below the wire. I'm going to bring those two wires over as one, reposition my pliers again, and just straighten that loop up. And then with those two tail ends, again, use your tools if you need to. I'm using my fingers, but by all means, use your chain nose, that's what they're for. But I want to bring them wires over together. Try not to get them to cross. I'm just going to fill in that space. So this is going to have a slightly longer wrap because I already wrapped 4 times. You could just wrap twice and then wrap twice with the wire from the loop, so it's exactly the same. But I don't mind this being ever so slightly longer. And if need be, you can always wrap over the wires from that wrap loop if you need to. So I've wrapped them around. Just going to give that a gentle press just to get those wires flat. And then I'm going to come in with the wire cutters and I'm just going to cut those tail ends of the wire off. I'm going to put them back into the bail step pliers just to give myself a little bit of purchase and grip and not change that loop shape and form just why I took those wire ends in. So you can see I'm almost kind of like twisting like I'm using a spanner almost, just going around it, just making sure it's nice and tucked in and smooth. And then I've already got the shape and the form of my bracelet. You can see this really is a very quick make. Now what I want to do is I want to take something cylindrical. I haven't got a wire a bracelet mandrel to hand. I have a candle, which is gingerbread scented. And I've got this. This is very cute. This is my amethyst. It's like goes over a tea light and it lights up, but you can see it's hard and it's round, and that's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to start to shape my bracelet. What I want to do is I want to just put a gradual curve in it. Shaping it all the way around. A little bit of pressure just to get that form. And that's going to give me a lovely bracelet shape. Now remember, bracelets, although you shape them round, something round, your wrist isn't round, it's oval. So with you having this lovely gauge of wire, this 0.6 or 22 gauge dead soft wire, you're going to be able to manipulate that to the shape that you want when you're wearing it as well. What I need to do now is make my clasp. Riati's saying, does the length determine the number of beads needed? Yeah. If you're going to make a smaller one, you're going to need to put less beads on. So as I say, if you're using 20 beads, that usually makes an 8-inch length. 15 beads would make a 6.5-inch length. So you might want to use 15 beads and then add the clasp on to give you that extra inch or so. And then you've got I've used about 17 beads, is going to make a 7-inch one. In your kits, I've made sure you've got enough to make an 8-inch bracelet. So there'll be, when I say 20, I'm talking about on each strand as well. Oh, sorry. So that would be, if you would put in 20 on each strand, there's 3 strands, so that would be 60 beads. But there's plenty in there, enough for you to make the larger size. You could, if you wanted, put an extender chain onto this as well. You could even use, one of the little sliding adjustable clasps that we've got. You can add that on too. You could do whatever you wanted to adjust the size of this. So I'm just going to use a ready-made lobster clasp and jump rings, which are also in your kit today. So you've got this lovely 12mm lobster clasp. Any size will do with these, to be honest. I'm using outer diameter 6mm by 1, so they're 1mm or 18 gauge, so they're nice and sturdy. I'm going to pop my lobster clasp through one of the jump rings, and then I'm going to attach the jump ring through one of the loops, and I'm going to close that over. Now, because I've made a loop which was, I'd say it was the second smallest on the bail staff plier. If you wanted to make a larger loop, you could use that directly as the clasp. I want to make sure that it sits nicely and flush though, and it's on my wrist. So I am just going to add that extra jump ring, which is also in your kit. Give it a little twist to open. Doesn't have to open it too much. Turn it towards me, not outwards, because I'm not distorting that shape. That's going to hook through the other loop that we've created, and give it a little close over. And then my clasp will now hook nicely into that one. So you can see, because my loops face this way round, that lobster clasp is going to sit nicely to the side. I'm going to attempt to put it on. This one will be a little bit big for me because I made it a larger size. But just so you can see how it looks on, I'm just going to hook it through the main loop rather than that jump ring. You can see you can adjust it to the shape that you want as well. Camille says very pretty. Alison says perfect. I hope I've not missed any questions. Sheila says good idea putting it on the slider bracelet. You can make an extender chain if you're going to put it on a slider bracelet though. I don't know whether I've got any to hand. What I would do is I would make it much smaller, which means you're going to get a lot out of these kits. I'd make it much smaller because you're not going to need all of the extension that you get from a slider chain usually. And Royati says thank you, you're very welcome. Mina says you make it look easy. It is. Mina, I'm sure you can plait hair. My hair, as you can tell, is usually a mess, and I have a little boy, so I don't do, you know, lovely long, he's got short hair, so I don't tend to plait his hair. I don't plait anyone's hair. I can plait wire. If you can plait, you'll be brilliant with this. If you can braid, this would be an absolute doddle. Justine says pretty bracelets. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you very, very much. I don't think I've missed any questions. If I have, repeat it so I can answer it. Ellen says, I love the colours. I love these colours together. Really, really pretty. So I'll take you very quickly back onto the website so you can see where you can get your kits. We are totallybeads.co.uk. And if you head over onto the website into the jewellery making category section, these are called Lily Platted bracelets. And I'm moving the wrong screen. So they're called Lily wire platted bracelets. If you type Lily into the search, Lily, it will come up for you. You've got your autumn green on gold, you've got your baby blue on silver, you've got the opal violet on silver, and you've got the pink on gold as well. Each kit will make one bracelet up for just £2.99. And if you want to buy the bundle, they've been reduced. So these bundles will give you the two colour options of your beads on that one colour of wire. So you can get the gold bundle, which will give you the green and the pink, enough to make 3 bracelets, however you want to kind of put them, and that's to make 3 large bracelets as well. So you might have some left over if you go for a smaller size. And again, we've got the Lily Platted bracelets in the violet and the blue mix as well. Also making 3 bracelets. If you want to do what I've done, make one in the baby blue, make one in the opal violet, and then make a mixed one. They're just £6.75 today, making 3. Just because we do have quite a few people in from the US, I'm going to change my currency for you to dollars. So if you wanted to get one, the baby blues looking out of stock, they are $3.34 for one bracelet kit. Of course, you've got your shipping as well. And then if you want to buy the bundle, it's $7.55. I'm reckoning those beautiful blues are now out of stock. So that would mean that the multi-mix in the violet and the blue is also out of stock. I'll check with the powers above at the end of the tutorial and double check if we have any extra, whether we can add them onto the website for you, but I'm not too sure. I think they may have sold out, which is lovely. It means that you like them. but we do need to replenish the stock that we have at the moment. When we went down to the warehouse, there was lots of things. We were like, can we have this? Will you order that? Can you get this in? I want some of this. So hopefully we'll have lots of lovely things available for you very, 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 very soon. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let me put myself up and let me head back into the comments. Scroll right down, scroll right down. Oh, Alison says perfect Christmas gifts. I know. I mean, I'm saying I know. I'm not ready for Christmas, but given the weather, it looks like summer's over. Perfect. She says, stacking the others will be nice, says Royati. Yeah, it will be. You could easily stack them up against each other. In fact, let me just show you those in the corner there. So you could definitely stack them up. I've made these all quite large for me. Anytime I'm making a bracelet, I want to make sure I'm making it so it's suitable for all, because it's much easier to adjust the size of something by making it smaller than it is by, of course, not having enough if you needed to make it bigger. So I always err on the side of caution. Everything I make is usually 8 inches or larger, and then if you need to make it smaller, you just take the beads out. But that's how they look if you wanted to have them stacked. So I agree, Royati, they would be really good. I think that's everything. Oh, Joanne says my favourite's already sold out. The blue's gorgeous. And Mina says, Natalie, I've made lots of ivy kits and also the Onyx jewellery, and post photos soon. Thank you very much. Good luck, Camille, with the dentist. I do not envy you. So I'm going to be back with you on Wednesday. What am I making? Oh, I'm making lovely necklaces on Wednesday. I think there's earrings as well included. They look a little bit like, I'm using little components which look a little bit Celtic. They look a little bit like an infinity loop and combined with a Celtic knot. That's how I'm describing it. And they're really, really pretty. So if you can be with me on Wednesday, I would very much love to see you then. Until then, I hope you all have a really nice start to the week and take